Now, we've been getting a lot of comments like these. Jeez. I understand how you guys feel, and I know you guys want answers, and we want answers, and we're all scared, especially when the bees are such a massive part of our food chain and our ecosystem. We need these animals to pollinate, and this is stuffed up because the DPI are playing with all of our futures right now. As you may know, we had a 2.5-hour meeting with the DPI just over a month ago. I taught them 100 questions that were a part of ours and a lot of your guys' questions, and I know you want the answers, and I'm going to give them to you all right now the best I can. And I'll go into further depth on more questions in other videos, but for now, I know all of you want everything, so we're going to try and get it out there for you. Now, before we start, keep in mind, I do not want varroa mite in Australia, no one does, but the fact is the DPI are taking such an unethical way to manage this. It is just mind-blowing. Like, they shouldn't be doing this. They shouldn't be going around killing bees and then poisoning absolutely everything. Are they absolutely out of their minds? On top of that, we're here with 25 acres of food forest, we've got 400 acres of property to look after, and it's just my family of 4, with no employees, with no other help, and we have to make the time for the bees. We have over a dozen projects we're constantly working on at all times, and one of the big ones right now that has taken up our time is the bees. We might not be uploading on social media as often, but we definitely are trying our best in the background. We are trying to look through the laws, we are trying to do our research, we're trying to get absolutely everything together so we can try and knock this on the head, because the last thing we need is all of our pollinators gone. They're such gorgeous animals, and we owe everything to them, because without them, we do not have life. I have a passion for bees and I love them, just like a lot of yous do, and I understand why you can be a bit aggressive when it comes to it, but at the same time, you know, we're trying our hardest and a lot of people aren't doing anything, and it took 12 months before someone actually stood up, and that was me. Where has everyone been? Where has everyone been? They've been in the shadows, letting the DPI go around and kill all the bees. They've killed over 30,000 hives. This is devastational. And you can guarantee I'm going to be here all times trying to bring you as much bee content as possible and working on it, because it is so unfair what they are doing. We've been featured on a lot of podcasts and a lot of interviews lately, so please go and check those out. They're all up here. Just have a look. You'll find them around the place if you search it up, but we go into a lot more depth on what we are doing and how we're trying to help and improve it, including plans of management and methods. We're not stupid, we're not going into this blind, and we're not just twiddling our thumbs. We're actually putting effort and thought into every last part of action we do. And that's a threat when it comes to the DPI, so they go and blast your face with misinformation over it. Now let's get into these questions, because I know you're all eager for them. I'm going to answer all of the questions, just going through with the best knowledge I can and what we actually got from the DPI. And we'll start in the fipronil section. Why have communities not been warned about fipronil baiting stations placed near them? Now, they simply said that people should be warned about what these stations are, especially in the 2.5 kilometer radius, but they aren't making an effort to do so. In fact, there is cases of people being told that these fipronil baiting stations are bee monitoring stations, so it's a bit ridiculous. And that was when it was placed on their own property. Why has the DPI turned to using such a dangerous chemical that is banned in the UK and Europe? Is our next question. They won't give us that info. That's as simple as it gets. They say, basically, we can't tell you. It's pretty obvious how deadly this is. I used it for termites in Queensland and accidentally wiped out the whole entire green carpenter bee race up there. The whole entire native bee species wiped out because of an accidental usage of this chemical, of this insecticide. Are there native bees, animals, mammals and reptiles that are going to eat these abandoned dead European hives and then be poisoned by them? Now, they won't give us that information either, but by a lot of research, yes, they will come in, they will take this poisoned honey and wax, and it will stay in the hive from 6 months to 2 years, continuously poisoning everything around it. Are the DPI going to poison feral hives deep in the state forests? Now, these state forests are so stupidly big and stupidly dense. Well, their response to this question was basically they can access everywhere, and that they're going to be able to put these baiting stations every 2.5 kilometers northeast, south and west of each other in these hugely dense state forests by access from quad bike and also cars. Remember, they have to guard these as well when the fipronil is actually in these baiting stations.
So here I was basically giving an example of how dense the state forest is around our area and how impossible it is to actually access these hills. I've been forward driving through here and it is absolutely dreadful. Keep in mind they want to put baiting stations every 2.5 kilometers.
Is the DPI looking into aerial spraying to get to those really harsh areas, if not impossible areas, to get to in the state forest to poison these feral hives? The simple response to that was no, they weren't going to use aerial spraying to kill the feral hives in the forest. Why haven't the DPI consulted with the community and the beekeepers around here on the actual dangers of fipronil usage? That's a good question. But their response is that they're doing their best efforts to alert everyone, even though they're still telling people that these are bee monitoring systems. If they actually went up to property owners and say, hey, let me put this poisonous insecticide that's banned in a crap load of countries on your property that's going to kill all the bees and endanger all the wildlife around the area, I guarantee you a lot of people are going to say no. So it's easier just to stick with the bee monitoring systems. How is the DPI going to justify the toxicity of this fipronil left behind in these feral hives that can remain in there for 3 years? Now, they simply said that, the poison's only going to stay there for about 6 months, and then it starts fading away. Now, there's a crap ton of study out there to say that it's 2 to 3 years. Originally, they were saying 2 years. To be honest, it seems like they really do not care. They don't care to justify, they don't care to show you studies, and they're not going to. But they did say that they were going to remove all the toxic hives and all of that from the bush. So I'd love to see that. I'd love to see them climbing the trees and looking through tree hollows and removing all these absolutely toxic hives in the dense state forest. Why aren't the DPI being transparent about the locations of these baiting stations? Well, it's probably because they know if they were, they're going to piss everyone off. And they say, well, we are being transparent by showing you the active area that we're baiting in, but you won't know where these baiting stations are. There's 800 plus of them, but you will not know where one of them are. So make sure you check your parks before you let your kids go around and play in them next to these fipronil baiting stations. Does the DPI have a replacement plan for the native bees that may be killed in this baiting process? No, they just tell you, take your native hives out of the area because you're allowed to move native bees because they aren't affected by varroa mite. They just say, move them out of the area, and if they die, that's your fault. And all the other natives that are around that live by themselves and don't actually have hives, and all the other ones that do have hives in the bush are just going to be affected. And I've seen how aggressive these native bees can be. They're like little bulldogs. They're adorable, but they are also very fierce. So when one of the European bees ingests this fipronil insecticide, a lot of the time they can get delirious and won't even make it back to their hive without hitting the ground or falling over or not knowing where they are. And they've got a full sack of this deadly poison. Now, all these native bees are going to come in and start attacking this European bee, and they will take the honey off it and take it back to their hive and continue poisoning. Even the predictability of where this fipronil is going to end up just absolutely thrown out the window. The